Hey, what's going on? I'm your host, Jeremy Hahn, and welcome to the podcast slash audio story slash whatever you really want to call it. Today we're taking a look at Southeast Ohio. This is episode number 1, and it's entitled 88th. I found myself looking at 2010 U.S. Census data for a stats class that I was taking last semester, and one particular category really caught my eye, and it was the list of Ohio counties by per capita income. So out of the 88 counties in Ohio, here are some of the highlights. Delaware, just outside of Columbus, came in at number 1, the richest county in Ohio. Hamilton, where Cincinnati is located, came in at number 5. Franklin, Columbus, is at 11, and Cuyahoga County, county seat of Cleveland, at 14. That makes sense. They're bigger cities, there's more people, they're making more money. But what was really interesting to me was the bottom of the list. As you get towards the bottom, almost all of the counties are rural and in southern Ohio. And again, that kind of makes sense. But what really caught my eye was number 88, dead last, Athens County. Athens County in 2010 had a per capita income of $17,000 a year. Pretty far and away the poorest county in Ohio. This shocked me. And it made me wonder, how is an area seemingly so culturally rich and diverse, so economically poor? So there's obviously a number of factors at play here, and my immediate reaction was that these numbers are skewed because of the college students that are living off campus and are technically residents of Athens County. There's two main schools in Athens County, Ohio University in Athens and Hocking College, a 2-year school in Nelsonville. These students are most likely working minimum wage jobs, temporary jobs. They're not there for a long time. However, according to a 2009 article published by the Athens News, the census data doesn't include the income of students who aren't permanent residents of the county. So I took this to mean if your driver's license doesn't have an address on it that's in Athens County, that you're not counted in the income. But here's where things start to get a little muddy. The 2010 census listed around 24,000 people living in Athens City. And according to that same article by the news, the city only has 6,000 permanent residents. So why are these students counted in the population totals and not in the income stats? I couldn't get a clear answer. I searched high and low on the internet. I talked to a few public officials in Athens County, and no one could give me an answer. So, for all intents and purposes, let's just take the students out of the picture for a second, get a little more granular, and get to the bottom of this. It's no secret that the Appalachia region in general is suffering economically. Why? 3 reasons: salt, iron, and coal. This was the only industry in the region for the longest time. And in the 40s, when the mines went dry, many of these areas were left in ruin. Families packed up and headed elsewhere. In the following 2 decades, railroads tried to rejuvenate the economy by bringing in resources and jobs. For some areas in the region, it worked. It didn't for most. So many families today in Appalachia are struggling to find solid work in the area for a number of reasons, and they're living in poverty. I talked to Athens County Commissioner Lenny Eliason about the economy in Athens and how his office plans on combating the poverty in the area. And here's what he had to say. So I see on your website here, you guys have got a couple of paragraphs about what the commissioners do. But give me the Reader's Digest version in a couple of sentences. What is your guys' goal as a commissioner's office?
In regards to what?
In regards to economic development.
Well, we want to continue to make the community a better place to live, work, and play.
And how specifically do you guys go about, just on a broad level, how do you guys go about accomplishing that?
Well, we have a group called the Athens County Economic Development Council that does that on a daily basis.
Yeah, I was in contact with them, and they sent me to you folks. Again, in a broad scope, what are some of the advantages of developing business in Athens County as opposed to other regions? What does Athens County have that sets it apart?
Well, Athens County is the prettiest part of the state. It's a great place for natural resources. We've got a broad economic base with the university here. So we've got a lot of big city amenities in a small town environment.
Okay. So then, on the flip side of that, what would you say? What would you identify are some of the challenges that that Athens County has in developing business?
One of the challenges is the same thing that's an asset. That's called location.
Okay.
Because we're not in a large metropolitan area, we're in a rural area. The other is the broadband. The county as a whole has broadband resources that are good in some areas and not so good in other areas, so it's not consistent throughout the county.
Okay. So I'm new to the Athens area. I'm an OU student. I moved here, a year and a half ago or so. So what I've noticed is that it looks like most of the industry within Athens County is centered in the city itself and around the university. So what do you have to do to try to branch out and reach the more rural, the people who live in the more rural areas? How do you go about developing business where there's not a whole lot going on currently?
Well, see, that's the myth of economic development. Economic development is going to be generated by the existing business for the vast majority. So as businesses grow, when you look at how they grow, where they're growing, you don't just go in and say, we're going to make economic development happen in this community. The first thing that happens is location, what the infrastructure is in a community. So as you build infrastructure, that helps the community. So you just don't say it's going to happen over here, here, and here, and have a plan to say it's going to happen like that. You have to look at what the floodplain is, where the utilities are, what the access to transportation is. There's lots of things that go into it.
Okay. Have you guys identified any areas in Athens County that might be for future development? Do you guys have?
Well, the corridor between Athens and Albany to the western end of the county is the place where you're going to see the most likely development because of the terrain, because of the highway, because of the airport, because of the blocks of land that are available there.
So it would seem the reason that a large part of the county is underdeveloped has to do with the fact that there's no existing resources and infrastructure in the more rural parts of the county. And that makes sense. You need resources to make more resources. But one thing Eliason noted that really kind of surprised me was the issue with the broadband. I can't imagine living in an area without a strong internet connection, not in 2017. I'm attached to my phone, to my laptop, to my video games. I couldn't live without the internet. And the Athens Messenger reports that in 2011, 72% of households in the county had internet access. 2 years later, in 2013, that number was up to 84%. Is it an improvement? Yes. Is it good enough? Probably not. I'm assuming Eliason's office, their goal is to get to 100%. So be it a skewed number by the sheer amount of college students or a lack of existing infrastructure or any number of other factors, Athens County is without a doubt a microcosm of the kind of poverty that you'll find across all of Appalachia. Pull up a map of the United States by income, and you'll see that the counties along the Appalachian Mountains are red or whatever color represents a lack of money. There's just not a lot of industry in this region anymore. There's no doubting that Athens is one of the most culturally diverse areas in Ohio and in the entire country. This college town is surrounded by the beautiful rolling foothills of the Appalachian Mountains and an extreme level of poverty. But there's hope, though, Athens County. As Eliason noted, the Albany corridor is still being developed and has the potential to bring new life and industry to the region. And the county does border the Ohio River, just a little tiny sliver of it. But that has the opportunity to become a port for the importing and exporting of goods to and from the region, to Cincinnati, to Pittsburgh, to all those big cities, to Portsmouth, to all of those cities connected by the Ohio River. Though the future for Athens County may be bright in the eyes of Lenny Eliason and other public officials in the area, Athens County still has 87 other counties to catch, and that's no easy task. I just want to take this time to thank everyone for listening to the podcast. And if you enjoyed this content and want to hear some more, feel free to follow me on Facebook, on Twitter at HanJeremyR, on Snapchat, Jeremy Han, and we can stay connected and you can hear more of my content. Until next time, thanks so much.